Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Ann, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of What the Why, the show that features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do. More importantly, how they figured out that this is their purpose. If you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, you no longer want to feel stuck in your job, career, your company, or just your life in general, all of our guests have something in common with you. At some point, they felt similarly and or they went through a major pivot to figure out their purpose. And today, our guest is no exception. Please join me in welcoming Coach Keith Shaw. Keith has worked in HR for 35 years, beginning his professional career as an aircraft mechanic. So you wouldn't think that someone would make that leap from an aircraft mechanic to an HR professional to coach, but like I said, everybody's been through some type of pivot, and Coach Keith Shaw has done that. Starting as an aircraft mechanic and working his way to director level for Fortune 500 companies, he transitioned from building airplanes to building better organizations. Coach Keith has served as a guest lecturer and adjunct professor at Baylor University for several years, and he has helped multiple organizations implement high-impact leadership development programs that increase engagement, reduce turnover, and improve organizational performance. He's on a mission to solve the long-standing problem of unprepared leaders, which is so many, especially those of you who are subject matter experts that got promoted because of what you could do, but were never really taught how to lead. His motto is, let's make the workplace so we can make the world a better place. And so, without further ado, I've been looking forward to this conversation for some time, so please join me in a round of applause in welcoming Coach Keith Shaw to our show. So, yay, round of applause. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our honor and pleasure. But before we dive into the bulk of the conversation, anyone who's watched this show, and if you're new, you'll get the gist of it. We always start out after reading the bio with asking the question about what you wanted to be when you were growing up, because you had a significant pivot, but we're still curious. Who did little Keith want to be when he was little?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I wanted to be a shop floor manager. So my parents worked in aerospace, defense, and security just like I did, but they worked on the shop floor. And they came home every day and complained about the horrible work environment that they were in. So listening to them complain about how the work environment was inspired me to decide, hey, I want to become a shop floor manager and I want to learn how to treat people right so that I can go into the workplace and be a manager and create a great work environment for other people. That kind of led to eventually, as I got older, once I got into HR, I kind of led to my motto of let's make the workplace better so we can make the world a better place. But that's what I wanted to be as a kid. And that's what I actually went to school to do. I studied management because I wanted to be a shop floor manager. And, the way things turned out, I wound up becoming an HR professional. But that's what I wanted to be when I was young.
Wow. Okay. So industry adjacent, but from the leadership perspective, that, as I noted, most people really aren't trained how to be leaders. And
Right.
so You pivoted into HR because you saw that as an opportunity to create change. That's also a very brave decision to make because HR is not the same depending on where you go. How
Right,
did you
right.
make that choice?
Well, I like to say HR chose me because
Mm,
when I graduated, I had a management degree, and I followed the the plan that everybody said. Hey, go to school, get your degree, go get a good job. So I got my piece of paper, and I went on the hunt for the right job as a manager. And I looked and looked and looked for like 3 or 4 months, and of course, no one would hire me to manage people without having any experience. So I, decided I wanted to work for a good company. So I said, hire me at the bottom and I'll work my way up and I'll learn
mm,
the business from the bottom. And that was my intent. And actually was consistent with my desire to be a shop floor manager because if I started as a mechanic, I eventually would have a chance to become a shop floor manager if I performed well. And I was on that pathway. I was a mechanic for about a year and a half. And as a mechanic, in addition to just doing my job and trying to learn as much as I could about the business, I would also go to networking events. I would go to charity events to represent the company. And I just happened to meet other people who were in positions of influence who actually, asked, who are you and why are you working in the shop on the shop floor? And I explained what I was doing, and that's how those opportunities happened because I was networking and also, volunteering and meeting other people who were volunteering, had a heart of service just like me, and those relationships helped people learn who I was and what I wanted to do, and that gave me the opportunity. And when one of those individuals contacted me and said, "Hey, you should apply for this human resources position. Your management degree is consistent with human resources. I know you want to be a shop floor supervisor, but human resources is a good profession as well." And to be perfectly honest, although there are days that I really loved being a mechanic, I was thinking, okay, I'm ready to get out of this shop floor, off the shop floor, because it was working in 110-degree weather inside a building, and in the wintertime, it was working on engines. When it was 30 degrees, it was a tough job. And so I was really ready to take the next step and get better working conditions. So when that came along, I took that opportunity. And once I got there, I realized that, hey, in human resources, not only can I make the workplace better for the people who I will one day lead, but I'm giving directions and advice to all the managers in this organization. So instead of having a positive impact on a small group of people, I'm going to have an impact on a large group of leaders, which will have a greater impact on the organization. So that's when I realized this is even better than a shop floor manager. This is what I'm going to pursue for my career.
mhm. And and you didn't just stop there. You took it to the next level, both there and then eventually into your own journey as an entrepreneur in many ways, uh, which is the risk of quoting the poem, because the poem is the road not taken, but
Mhm.
that's because you opted for the road less traveled. How did you make the decision to pivot into going beyond just the company where you were an HR professional?
Yeah, great question. I worked as an HR professional for 35 years. I loved it. I did extremely well, worked my way up, made it to vice president level and director level positions. And, at one point, I started thinking that, I enjoy providing these skills to managers and different people. But, it still was not fulfilling me from the standpoint of I feel like I can do more. I want to impact more people. So I was thinking, how can I impact more people as opposed to the companies that I was working for? And, I came to the conclusion that I can do that by becoming an entrepreneur and providing these skills and providing the elevation of leadership to people other than just in one company that I am working for. And when I took the leap and went into entrepreneurship, I've had the opportunity to coach and train and speak at conferences and speak at companies all over the country, and that has been really rewarding. And I'm enjoying that today. And I tell people that it doesn't feel like work. I would probably do it for free, but I do want to get paid, but I would do it for free. And I love it. And I just enjoy doing what I'm doing. I feel like I'm fulfilling the mission that I have been given, which is to, help make the workplace better and make the world a better place. And I get to do that every day. So I feel blessed.
Yeah. And I love that. And it's interesting, and because there's people who are watching and they're like, why is a coach always interviewing another coach? I'm like, because we all have our own way of meeting people where they are. And sometimes people aren't the right fit for us. And so somebody watching, I might not be the right fit for them because I haven't worked in the industry that you worked in, or you have the experience you have. And so it makes absolute sense to feature people with different types of expertise, like what you have to offer. And but there's people out there right now saying, okay, so she did it, he did it, but they're the exception, not the rule. And because there really is the road not taken, that most people take. The road less traveled is the hard one. It's the one where you go from that, you may work a lot of hours, have a lot of responsibility, even have a lot of people under you. But for the most part, it's a structured schedule. Even if you're putting in 80 hours a week, which I know you probably have and I can empathize with, it's still structured. There's still a steady paycheck, there's benefits, there's things like that. Entrepreneurship, 24/7. You do it because you love it, not necessarily because you always like it. And you're constantly, even if you love it and you wanted to do it for free, and I have because I've mentored, I imagine you've probably done some volunteerism too. Still, it's still different than having a steady paycheck. Separate from the fact that you love doing this work, how do you keep yourself going on those days where it can be a little bit challenging?
Yeah, a couple things. I would say one is that I have a mentor who is helping me continue to move forward, who's helping me get ideas about how I can continue to grow my business and experience more success. And so that is one thing that helps me, and we meet periodically, and that keeps me going. My passion for helping people is the other thing. When I get to hear from people, and one of the reasons that I started coaching in the first place was because of the impact of the gratitude that people showed me and how it made me feel. I don't know about you, but it's one of the things that makes me feel the happiest. When you feel the gratitude and you see the impact on other people, it just makes me feel, it makes me happy. So I originally was a basketball coach, believe it or not. I played college basketball, and I decided that my gift back to college basketball would be to teach others how to play so they could get a college scholarship and be able to get their school paid for just like I did. So I coached my daughters, and I have four daughters. I coached my daughters and neighborhood kids, and 12 of those kids went on to get college scholarships. Some of them Division I scholarships. And when some of those parents came back afterwards, when their kids were, receiving scholarships, because I took them from 7 years old to playing for college basketball. And when some of those parents, said, "Hey, man, I can't express how thankful and how grateful we are for the sacrifices we made to coach our kids." Because I did it for free. They didn't pay me. I did it because it was my way of giving back. I believe in giving back for the gifts that we're given, and that made me feel so good. I thought, wow, I got to continue doing things for other people. because it truly just makes me happy when I help other people and see, see what it does for them. And that translated to when my kids got to, to high school and college. Um, that's when coaching in business started becoming popular. And so I just made the transition, and I realized that, hey, the kids that I'm coaching, I'm not only teaching them basketball, I've been teaching them life skills. I've been teaching them about working together as a team. I've been teaching them about you've got to expect to win, and if you expect to win, you got to prepare to win, and how to respect authority. And I thought, all of these things that I've been teaching them, that these things apply to the workplace as well. So I started preparing myself to coach in the workplace, and I started studying it, and I went ahead and decided to get certified. And it was a general certification at first, but I used that to learn how to coach and get a general structure. And I started applying coaching in the workplace, and that's when it all got started. And I shared with you as we just started this conversation today that I just got ICF certified, which was a major accomplishment for me. And looking forward to continuing to learn and continuing to help other people achieve things and attain goals that they may not have otherwise tried to pursue if they didn't have support to help them do it.
Yeah, and I really want to underscore and emphasize the fact that look, 35 years, Fortune 500 companies, you were doing coaching work in different roles at the VP level. Yet you still made the effort to go out, get certified, get trained, make sure that you were continuing your learning so that you could be an even better coach. Because I get the question all the time, well, you're an executive and leadership coach. I'm like, all coaching is life coaching. And whether it's a very high level executive or frontline individual contributor, but there's a process to it. And there's a lot of people out there that claim to coach. But you took the time to go and actually get certified and learn to be a coach in addition to the wealth of credentials that you already had. So for those of you who always wanted to know what's the difference, how to search for a coach, one way, and there are other accrediting bodies, but the International Coaching Federation certification usually guarantees a very solid baseline of coaching education. Now, I've featured coaches on here, admittedly, who are not ICF certified. You don't have to be ICF certified, but it does demonstrate a code of ethics that you follow. It does demonstrate a level of education and ongoing education to be the best possible coach you can be, which is someone who's worked at a Fortune 500 company doesn't really surprise me. So I know we've talked about the fact that leadership is your passion, but what is it about leadership that made you passionate enough to invest in yourself to continue to help other people be the best they can be in leadership?
Yeah, the reason is that leadership and personal development were the two things that helped me arrive at where I am today. I grew up in a situation where we lived in a low income, high crime community. And my parents were divorced. There was some substance abuse in there as well. And, the odds say that I should not be where I am today based on all those circumstances. But I had people who mentored me, people who taught me about leadership, people who taught me about personal development. And it was a little bit of everything. It was community, people in the community, it was teachers, it was coaches, who saw something in me that I had not yet seen in myself. And, they taught me to be a leader. They taught me to identify what it was that I wanted and then put a plan together to go make it happen, as opposed to just dreaming or having a big dream about something, but actually putting a plan together to make it happen. And all of that, all of those things, primarily leadership and personal development, those are the things that led me to where I am today. And I feel that that is something that is missing today. I believe that, in second grade, they ask you, what do you want to be? And little Billy may say, I want to be a firefighter. And then they never talk about it again. And, so, one of the things that I'm planning to start doing more of is to actually going back to schools, high schools, junior high schools, and encouraging people to put plans together. You've got to be clear about what you want and then put a plan together to make it happen. And also entrepreneurship. We are taught to get a job and go to work for someone, but I didn't discover the power of entrepreneurship until I was in my 40s. And fortunately, I was in a position to really dive into it and experience a lot of success. I wish I had learned it 30 years earlier. I didn't have the knowledge of it 30 years earlier. I probably didn't have the confidence to jump in 30 years earlier, maybe, but I just want to share the message with other people earlier so that they know there's an option. You don't have to, if you don't, I mean, you don't have the option to go to church, go to college or go work for McDonald's. Those are not the only options. There's a lot of other options. Entrepreneurship should be one of the first options. And when I talk to people, when I coach people, when I mentor people, I tell them, especially young kids, you should be looking at entrepreneurship, especially while you're young. You've got great ideas. You can hustle, but it is something that I wish we were teaching people more.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, especially because for many that is the pathway forward. And just as a side, I've worked with populations that literally that is the only pathway forward. And things that cause that to be the only pathway forward for them proves that they always had that entrepreneurial nature. It just needed to be redirected and have someone help them believe in themselves. And I want to point out that that was what you mentioned. It wasn't that it wasn't in there. It's that you had people helped you believe in you so that you could self-validate your worth. And that's huge because we have a world full of people right now, and probably some who are actually watching and or listening there right now, who are looking for external validation of what's possible. And you had people in your life and now are that person that helps people find the internal validation that keeps them going when things get tough. So there's people out here watching right now and or listening that are wondering, okay, that all sounds great, but it couldn't have been that easy. And of course it's not. What are some of the biggest lessons that you learned along the way that maybe you weren't expecting to encounter?
Yeah, so there definitely will be challenges. There's no doubt about it. Um, the major one of the first challenges I faced was that I saw other opportunities that I wanted to pursue, but I for one reason or another was not allowed to pursue those opportunities. And this is typically applying for other jobs. And I know a lot of people struggle with this because when you apply for a job today, you get a generic, oh, we received your application, and we'll get back to you if your skills fit our needs. And so, then you never hear from them again. So one of the reasons that I established the credentials that I've had was for that reason. I thought, you know what, I won't be allowed to be denied because I don't have the qualifications. So I'm going to make sure that I am extremely qualified, and I put in a lot of work. I'm always working to be the best version of myself also. And my discovery of personal development kind of supported that too. I'm still today, I'm looking, what can I do to be the best version of myself? Well, how can I be better tomorrow than I am today? I'm working on a PhD right now as well. Just I'm just continuing to learn and grow because I believe that challenges are gonna come, and so we have to prepare ourselves to be ready for those challenges. I like to tell people that we all fall into one of three categories: either we're going through something right now, or we just finished going through something, or watch out, we're getting ready to go through something. And so, what are you going to do to prepare yourself to be ready for that situation? Because it's coming. we all are going to have those moments that are, we don't get the things don't happen the way we want them to happen, and we have to be prepared to deal with those situations so that we can get the best outcome. And the best thing to do is to prepare for it now, so that you are the person, and you become the person who will best advocate for you, your family, your dreams, and help you deal with the problems that you're going to face as you go through this life, which will have multiple challenges. So that's what I say as far as this is concerned. And I'm trying to think of a major, other than being denied opportunities. The other thing that I would say has been a very difficult challenge is the things that life brings to you. I've, recently lost my father, I lost my mother, you know, uh, 13 years ago. And those were the two hardest things I've had to deal with in my life. And, you got to find a way to keep going, even though are going through some difficult things. And for me, uh, my work in helping other people is how I made it through. And, having a very strong purpose is important. Before that, it was, whatever challenge I had, I knew I was going to find a way to get through it because I had my children to raise. I knew my family depended on me. I was very clear about my purpose. There was nothing going to stop me from doing the things that needed to be done to take care of my family. And so being clear about your purpose, and continuing to become the best version of yourself, regardless of where you are in your life. I've had people say, well, I'm getting ready to retire, so I don't really need any coaching. Well, you know what? You need some help to prepare for this next phase of your life, because you're going to experience some things that you have never experienced. And you need to think your way through those things so that you can get the best results and advocate as best possible for you and your family as you go through these things. So,
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And I think preparing is such a huge part, because no matter how prepared we think we are, there's always that surprise. There's always that unexpected. But it's also who makes us who we are. And what I'm hearing from you is you really are, the sum total of the challenges as well as all of the best possible experiences that you could have had, that you now help use and channel to help others become the best version of themselves. And believe it or not, we're starting to get close to time. A half hour goes really quickly.
yeah, it
And
does.
so, for those who are out there right now, and this is going to be a little bit of a redundant question, but asked in a slightly different way. The fear of change is standing in the fear of the way, the fear of staying the same. The fear of change is just a little bit stronger. What words of encouragement can you offer to the people who are watching and or listening that find themselves in that situation? Because change, even for the good, can still be a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's a great question, especially for today. The first thing that I would say is just to reflect on your life, reflect on the last year, even, and how many changes have happened over the last year.
Mm.
And the point there is that change is happening constantly. And as human beings, there's something about us that just makes us not like change. Like, I mean, I'm talking simple stuff. Like if you're driving in your car and the car in front of you is going too slow and you got to change lanes, we don't like it, So simple changes, we struggle with. And there's a lot of changes going on now. I'm going to say that since 2020, I've gone through more changes all at one time than I've probably gone through for the majority of my life. Stuff is just happening
Mm.
constantly in every area of life right now. And so we just have to understand that change is constant. It's going to happen. We have to learn to embrace it and not be afraid of it, because change for me can typically, at least based on the experiences that I've had, change has resulted in positive things. And because it's different, we're usually uncomfortable with it, and many people don't like it. But I think you can create a competitive advantage for yourself if you get comfortable with change. When you see change happening, look at it as an opportunity as opposed to just something that's going to change and affect you. Because a lot of times that change creates another opportunity for you, and embrace that opportunity for change and try to identify how can you emerge on the other side of that in a better position. Today with AI is a great example. People are afraid of AI. That is not the answer. Got to figure out how can I use AI to help me put myself in a better position going forward. How can I use it to make me more competitive? And once you get comfortable, if you can get comfortable with it, I believe it can help you see things that you otherwise didn't see. So trying to embrace change, and don't allow change to cause you to worry. I like to tell people that if you think about the things that you've worried about, 95% of them have never happened.
Yeah.
And so you've wasted time, you've wasted effort, and you've caused unnecessary harm to your body, because when you worry, you release cortisol, which has a negative impact on your body because it puts you in fight or flight,
Yeah.
which disrupts digestion and causes blood flow patterns to change and does a bunch of things that are not good for you long term. So try to look at the fact that most of the things you worry about don't happen. So try to control the things that focus on the things that you can control, and not worry about the things that you can't. And typically that will help you feel more comfortable with change, and hopefully get you to embrace it and engage in it more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time. I'm so glad we got to do this. Again, my condolences to your family. Losses are tough, especially when it's a parent. And I really appreciate that you took time out of your schedule to show up and talk to our audience and be part of this ongoing conversation about pivots and becoming your best self and living into your purpose and figuring out what your why is. For those who would like to connect with you, audience, all of Coach Keith's information is going to be available in the comments section and or in the download overview, wherever you are accessing this episode, either video or in audio. But for those of you who are audio listeners, you hear it. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Two ways I would say. Number one is connect with me on LinkedIn. If you put in Coach Keith Shaw, I'm typically the first one to come up. And then secondarily, you can email me at coachkeith@coachkeithshaw.com. And I'm regularly talking to people and, helping them, solve challenges. I enjoy that. So happy to talk to anybody who's interested in having a conversation.
Awesome. So there you go. You know how to reach out to him, connect with him, and or check out his contact information in the links provided with wherever you're accessing this episode. And again, thank you so much for taking your time to share your thoughts and your wisdom with our audience.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And to our audience, thank you so much, especially in recent months as we have gone international. The response from you has been fantastic. We're so excited. There's so many different options for you to listen to and or watch these days. So many different options. And so we really value the fact that you're taking your time and energy to invest in watching and or listening to our episodes and learning from the amazing guests that we are so fortunate to feature. And also, please, if you're benefiting, tell someone else so they can benefit as well. Help us reach even more people so that we can help them overcome whatever challenges or fears they might have from the amazing information being presented by our guests. Because as we say at the end of every episode, whether you're looking to make changes in your life, big or small, you can always tune in for more illuminating, fascinating, and inspirational conversations with guests such as Coach Keith, who overcame what some would perceive to be some seemingly insurmountable challenges in his life to ultimately work his way up, get educated, find his purpose, and live it.